It's a huge privilege to be joining your discussions, and I'd like to thank the International Netball Federation and your hosts here in Botswana for your warm welcome. I'd also like to acknowledge the continued support of so many colleagues, friends and sporting leaders here today. It is my pleasure to be with you. Generosity. The generosity of spirit that this thriving international federation displays day in and day out is one of the things I want to focus on today. Each and every one of us in this room or watching online believes the exceptional power of sport as a force for good. A force that brings us together, reconciles our differences and has the aspiring potential to change lives for the better. A force that drives our commitment to humanity, equality and destiny. A force that encapsulates our passion for and belief in the triumphant, generous spirit of humanity. We saw so much of this in action here in Gaborone just 2 months ago, when the Gold Coast 2018 Queen's Baton Relay visited Botswana. The baton, which is the powerful and celebratory symbol of the Commonwealth Games, carrying Her Majesty's message of peace and unity, was passed from athletes to citizens, community leaders to school children with great excitement, euphoria and awe. But what happens when sport takes and does not give back? When it exploits and manipulates and does not protect or empower? When winning comes at a cost of culture, values and behaviours? It's quite simple. Communities suffer, and consequently, the phenomenon that is sport suffers too. We all know that netball is a thrilling and core highlight of the Commonwealth Games sports programme. There was phenomenal demand for tickets at Glasgow 2014, and indeed we had to move to a much bigger venue to accommodate the demand. And it was recently announced that the finals for the Gold Coast 2018 are 5 times oversubscribed. It's a clear favourite for fans, teams and broadcasters, and I want to applaud and acknowledge the amazing work you do to raise the profile of your sport. I know that thrilling world-class events is one of your 3 key pillars, and in this regard, by every possible measure for the Commonwealth Games, you well and truly deliver. For me, however, it is your generosity, your inspiring and diverse outreach programme, your commitment to communities and empowerment off the court that sets you apart as a federation. This clearly aligns with the core values of the Commonwealth sports movement as a whole, creating peaceful, sustainable and prosperous communities through sport. Through your strategic plan, Netball 2020, you make the commitment to maximise the potential of sport to contribute to sustainable development. And on the other hand, recognise the need to work diligently to protect and promote the integrity of sport. It is this mantra that guides the joined-up vision of Commonwealth sport, and I want to recognise and celebrate this shared vision in my short address today. Indeed, it is a vision that underpins the Commonwealth Federation itself, a voluntary association of 17 nations and territories. Among our membership are some of the world's largest and smallest countries, from India, with over 1.2 billion people, to Nauru, with a population of 10,000. Our combined population of 2.4 billion represents 1/3 of the world's total population. And also more importantly for you in netball, 60% of the Commonwealth citizens are under the age of 30, prime targets for you. The Commonwealth Charter brings together the values and aspirations which unites our diverse membership, outlining our joint commitment to democracy, human rights and the rule of law, to promote peace and prosperity and to improve the lives of all peoples of the Commonwealth. In recent times, our Federation has done a lot of soul-searching to look at our impact and meaning, and it's no accident that we built upon the very foundations of the Commonwealth as enshrined in the Commonwealth Charter to define what sets us apart as a thriving and relevant sporting movement today. In 2010, the Commonwealth Games Federation reached a very vulnerable chapter in its existence, when the very word and purpose of Commonwealth was questioned and the negative impacts of a Games on a host community were highlighted. So on the back of an extensive strategic review, which I know a number of you participated in, and through a collaborative approach of cross-sector partnerships at the local, national and global level, we all sought to change the script for Glasgow 2014 Commonwealth Games and beyond. reflecting on who and what the Commonwealth family is and why a mega sporting event, the Commonwealth Games, of its kind and nature was so important. Just as you have done in Netball 2020, this led us to being very explicit about the values we place on host communities and citizens and the positive impacts we seek to achieve in all that we do. From protecting and promoting and safeguarding clean athletes, from publishing pre-games and post-games human rights reports, embracing the fair living wage, to procuring ethically and sustainably, and implementing community benefit clauses in our tenders and contracts, to changing the face of accessibility standards and services for events and tourism, to actively promoting LGBT rights and embracing diversity every step of the way, to promoting and fundraising for children's rights through a global partnership with UNICEF, where $6 million was raised for children during our opening ceremony in Glasgow. These are just some of the examples how one city in one nation and the power of one Games made a difference. And we have capitalised on this momentum and formalised this ambition in our own strategic plan, Transformation 2022. Today, the CGF is far more than the curator of a great Games. Our strategic blueprint marks a historic change in the movement's focus over a 4-year cycle of overseeing the Commonwealth Games to a wider role of delivering leadership within the Commonwealth based on partnership, engagement and value generation. This plan prioritises our delivery across 4 key areas: innovative and inspirational games, Good governance and management, strong partnerships, and last but not least, developing Commonwealth sport as a true valued brand. So it is a huge priority for us to support and empower you, the International Netball Federation, and other partner federations, as well as our member CGAs, to ensure Commonwealth sport has maximum impact on your athletes, your citizens and your communities. Looking back, it is incredible to stop and think what you have achieved and what we have achieved together since netball first joined the programme at the 1998 Games in Kuala Lumpur. Many countries, including my own, and I was chairing then too, we were assured about the addition of team sports and the associated costs. In fact, we did not want you in at all. Not you netball, team sports. It was too expensive. However, you're in, and we decided, well, let's see what we can do. And the difference was, you're a team sport, everybody else was individual sports, and there the tween would meet outside. But during the games, the first games in Kuala Lumpur, and I'm just, when I was chef with the Scottish team, the Scotland netball team were in, and they arrived one day. I was at the airport to meet them, to allocate them into their rooms, blah, blah. Stood up there, spoke to them, this is what we're doing, called out names, rooms, and so on. Team manager stood up and said, no, you're not. They're all in this together. I'll put them in the room. We're staying on our own. So rather than have a fight at the airport in front of athletes, we talked about it back in the village. And what it was to try and ensure that we integrated everybody as Team Scotland, not netball, not swimming, not athletics. And I can assure you that now, what a step change for the movement. And it's one of the best things that we ever did. This marrying of team sports with individual sports in one multi-sport games, it's fantastic. The only thing is, when you came in, it was women's netball and men's rugby sevens. Somehow, the gender balance has gone haywire, because women's rugby's in. So when is your men's netball team coming on board? That's your challenge from me. It's brought a whole new dynamic to the national teams, and, you know, as I've said, it cemented our position as one of the world's greatest multi-sport celebrations. So since then, since 1998, we've had 4 editions of the Commonwealth Games, and the first ever, and 4 subsequent editions of the Youth Games, and so our journey continues. This time next week, over 1,000 young athletes and officials will start to arrive in the Caribbean island nation of the Bahamas for the 6th edition of the Commonwealth Games. Like the Youth Games before in Samoa in 2015, they won't just be a celebration of culture, sport, personal development and Commonwealth friendships. They will make a difference. In Samoa, the work undertaken at the event to develop and uphold the highest standards of child safeguarding and engagement have now been adopted as policy by the national government, the first of its kind and a tangible legacy for children. And in the Bahamas, there are ambitious plans to use the Youth Games, the largest sporting event they have ever hosted, to empower young Bahamians to ensure there is a broader legacy, working with youth leaders in the region to ensure the participating athletes and officials leave the Bahamas better equipped to use sport to effect a positive change in their own communities. We will be running Commonwealth Youth Impact Athletes Labs for athletes and officials in partnership with the Commonwealth Secretariat, the Royal Commonwealth Society and UNICEF. They will provide support and inspiration to tackle issues facing the next generation of global sporting citizens. As an official part of the Bahamas 2017 Cultural and Personal Development Programme, the Athlete Impact Labs will help fulfil the Games' core ambition to strengthen the link between sporting competition, personal development and Commonwealth peace building. Now more than ever, athletes are inspiring us on and off the field of play as global role models, and these impact labs recognise and support our young athletes as essential to delivering on the Commonwealth's values and achieving the UN Sustainable Development Goals through sport. Our plans for the upcoming Commonwealth Games in the Gold Coast, Australia in April next year stretch in a similar way beyond the thrilling impact of the 11 days of sport. All our efforts are focused on delivering worldwide recognition and respect for the Gold Coast and Queensland, jobs and economic growth, community engagement right across Australia, and the promise of greater reconciliation and social justice. It's why Gold Coast 2018 will be the first mega sporting event in Australia with a Reconciliation Action Plan, and why we're proud to become the first multi-sport event in the world to create a truly level playing field of gender equality with an exactly equal number of medal opportunities for men and women. Having visited the Gold Coast late last year, you heard yesterday that I know that Molly and Claire appreciate firsthand just how thrilling the Games are going to be. And I know it's an extremely hot topic right now with the rankings that have just been announced and everybody's all talking about it, and it's great. And all I think is that what awaits the 12 teams next year is going to be very, very special. You'll love it. And the brand new venue hosting the semi-finals and finals is built, and it's already open and being well used by the local community and by national sporting federations as part of their test event programme. Volunteers are being recruited, tickets are on sale, and the Queen's Baton Relay is well underway, appropriately in Jamaica as we speak, another netball superpower. There's no doubt that the next Games will be another magical and meaningful event that inspires and engages sports fans around the world and creates yet another launch pad for our movement and our participating sports. And later this year, we will know who Gold Coast 2018 will pass the baton to for 2022, for the 2022 Commonwealth Games. We were also disappointed that South Africa weren't able to deliver a Games in Durban in line with their original commitments and ambitions, and I know that many of you shared the disappointment. It was a very, very difficult decision to make, deciding to look at alternative options after many months of trying to support South Africa team. However, we are all overwhelmed by the support shown by many countries and cities around the Commonwealth wanting to put themselves forward as a replacement host for the Games, and are now in a period of dialogue following 4 formal notifications of interest from Australia, Canada, England and Malaysia. And our aim is to select a new host city by the end of the year, and we are fully confident that we will find an inspiring host to build on the forward momentum from Glasgow to the Gold Coast and beyond. Coming back to the strategic pillars of Netball 2020 and the values and priorities that we share, it's well known to achieve these and other positive outcomes, we must work to protect and promote the integrity of sport. You call it governing with integrity. In Rio last year, on behalf of the Commonwealth Advisory Body on Sport, and I am proud to be chair, alongside my commitments as well as the CDF President, I presented a report on this issue to the 8th Commonwealth Sports Ministers, titled Policy Guidance to Governments on Protecting the Integrity of Sport. And if you want, you can download it. It's a huge document. It's from www.thecommonwealth.org. There's a hard copy, but I don't have any with me, as my boxes didn't arrive. Anyway, CABOS will work with ministers on these issues again when they meet ahead of the Commonwealth Games on the Gold Coast next year. Valuable insights and initiatives from our partner federations assist us with this work, as do the impacts and experts from across the Commonwealth, which help shape future policy guidance. Together, we must continue to make the point that sport can make an important contribution to advancing sustainable development, but we must also stress that this contribution will not happen automatically. Well-designed policy and strategy, local ownership, effective implementation and targeted measurement and evaluation is required, underpinned by effective and transparent governance and the protection and promotion of the rights of all involved in and around sport. We must practice what we preach. And as your former and our current Vice President Kieran Smith says so clearly in your strategic plan, good governance must be underpinned by a strong commitment to integrity, inclusiveness and accessibility. Today, more than ever before, cultures, values and behaviours are vital to the performance and profile of successful organisations. At this Congress, dedicated to celebrating the valuable contribution of netball to Commonwealth sport and global development, I owe a debt of gratitude to you all. It is only through collective action that we will make the ambitions and promises of Netball 2020 and Transformation 2022 a reality. Molly, Sue, Claire and the INF board membership, thank you for your long-standing and in many cases very, very long-standing commitment and friendships. The Commonwealth Games Federation remains your trusted and committed friend and partner. And I'm also truly excited to be here to enjoy the Netball World Youth Cup, and especially the opening match between Sri Lanka and my homeland Scotland. Who decided to put it on at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning? Thanks. That's what I like, you know. Anyway, I'll be there to support them. But to see your finest young athletes making youth sporting friendships across the continents and communities, witnessing a vibrant and ambitious host nation on the world stage, celebrating youth and working hard to deliver a lasting legacy. And what maybe some of you do not know, that Botswana has been working on a project with the Commonwealth Secretariat specifically on gender mainstreaming and maximising the contribution of sport to advance gender equality in the country. Now, this piece of work is absolutely terrific, and I've been following it along, and I do have a copy of the print, which we can have printed out for you. But Botswana is the first country to be able to take this on, so Botswana, I congratulate you most sincerely for this, so thank you very much. Thinking about the World Youth Cup and preparing to head out to our own youth games, which I'll leave next Thursday, I'm reminded yet again how much we have in common. But of course, there are many events outside our control. Terrible events in recent weeks have shown us again that we live in an anxious and uncertain world. But in closing, I want to tell you that I take the inspiration from the words of the American composer Leonard Bernstein, who, after the world was shaken by the assassination of JF Kennedy, challenged musicians everywhere to reply in violence, not with violence, but by making music more intensely, more beautifully, and more devotedly than ever before. Honoured guests, I commit to you today that in this uncertain world, the response of the Commonwealth sporting movement under our collective leadership will be to ensure the transformative, inspiring, collective power of Commonwealth sport is deployed more intensely, more powerfully and more devotedly than ever before. As we reflect on recent successes and also the significance of the opportunities on the road ahead, let's just take a moment to savour what's gone before as we set our sights on the Gold Coast 2018 and the exciting sporting history that as a Commonwealth we will write and shape together.
Ladies and gentlemen, I now declare these games open.
She wins it! She takes the title!
We cannot believe what has just happens here.
Clean onto the top of his head, and he's there. He makes it look so easy. Look at that smile of satisfaction.
People said, well, there may be a barrier. You can't keep on running faster. Is 4 minutes the barrier? It didn't make sense to me that there was a barrier.
I was like underdog. I said, okay, don't talk about me, but I'll surprise you people. And I did it.
What a moment it is for this youngster who's crying his eyes out.
Chase, and Caleb Ralph is going to win that chase as well. Jubilation, it's gold for New Zealand.
Well, tying them slightly. Well, battling against the college.
Jim Peters staggers into the arms of Team Master Mick Mays, beaten for strength, but not for courage.
Finally get that medal at the end is something to say, I've done it, and I've come full circle.
You've been amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you.